Assalamu alaikum friends, welcome back to the channel, always with Younes Charfaoui. In this video, we are going to see something different than Android development and software engineering best practices. We will see how we can store passwords in database. Well, I'm not talking about database in Android. Usually we don't store passwords of multiple users in Android. Well, this should happen on the backend or something. But sometimes you store pins or small passwords in shared preferences or something like that for just one user. Well, you can encrypt that, it's not a problem. But here I'm talking about storing passwords in database, in backend and everything. Let's get started. So we are going to study the best practices when doing that, so you have a rough information about how your password is getting stored in real database systems. So why we should store them safely? Well, because a password is a very important thing. That's first. Not only that, because let's say if an attacker hacked your Facebook password, what will happen is that this hacker can attack your Facebook and can see your messages, images, like can see all of that. But there is another problem that is not so obvious, because some users will use the same password across many applications and systems. Imagine a password is getting used for Facebook, for example, for Google, for WhatsApp, I don't know, and for example, your payment card or something. That could be a problem. If an attacker can hack only one platform, it can attack all the other platforms. That might be a problem. And this happens a lot in apps and systems, not like Facebook or Google. These big companies have high security standards, but I'm talking about some startups and low security standard apps that don't employ this kind of best practices. So that's the first step. Try to use multiple passwords across many apps. So that might be a problem. So let's get started. What we will see here, you will see 4 techniques like simple storing, encrypting, hashing, and also salting. First of all, let's say we are going to store it as it is. Well, this is the easy thing, but with no security at all, anyone who can access the database can see all the passwords. By anyone, I don't mean only hackers. Let's say if you have employees in your system, those employees can check the database. So they have the access to the passwords and everything. That might be a problem. And also, if it is visible to an employee, it is visible also to a hacker if he can attack it. What we want to achieve is that even if the hacker gets access to the database, that's the worst case, he can do nothing with it. That's how we make our password of our users secure as much as possible. So here in this example, as you can see, here is a database. Well, simply, this is just an imaginary database. We have user ID, username, password, and full name. As you can see here, I'm just sorting the database as they are. So even a hacker won't have any problem with this database. So we have to make it difficult for the user. Even if he gets this database, he will be able to do nothing with it. The second way is to use encryption. So encryption, I'm not going to discuss what is encryption and everything, but it is just a way to hide information or just to convert a readable thing into unreadable thing. But here is the caveat. With encryption, we can get back to our original data using some other mechanism called decryption. So this encryption is two-way thing. Okay, there is famous algorithm like AES and RSA. Well, encryption is better than storing because the hacker won't understand what is going on. As you can see, this is the encryption. This, I don't know which algorithm is that. This is an encryption of the password. So at first glance, the hacker won't be able to do nothing with it. But here is the problem. If the hacker knows what is the secret key to do the encryption and what is the algorithm, he can view what? All the passwords. That's the problem. So this is the problem with this kind of approach. All right. So there is also another problem. The hacker can be intelligent. What he'll do, he'll try to subscribe to your application, register and everything, and he will see how his password, because he knows his password, like the form A, and he will see this encrypted thing. So maybe he can do some brute force, some statistical analysis attacks. I don't know about them a lot. But there is some attacks that will help them using kind of approaches to convert from the database he owns to the encrypted thing. And using that, he can know the key and the algorithm used here. So that might be a problem. Another problem is that if you can see there is 2 users using the same password. Imagine in an app like Facebook, for example, where there is millions of users, millions of passwords. Some users will have the same password. What does this imply? It implies that this password is common. That's the problem. The hacker will know that they are using something common. For example, 123 until 5, password 123, and so on. So this will help also the attacker to know how to decode and hack this algorithm and hack this way of encrypting things. So we have 2 problems here. We can decode this thing back to the original password. That's the first problem. And we have a problem of multiple users having the same password. That may be a problem. So first of all, let's see how we can solve the first problem. So there is something called hashing. Hashing is a one-way function. There is algorithm like the secure hash algorithm, and there is like MD5, there is a common algorithm. So hashing is a function that can be used to map data of arbitrary size to fixed size values. So we have this to SHA-256 bytes. So if you do hello world, it will give you a random thing. Here is the catch. With this, I can't go back to the hello world. This is the main criteria. So this is only a one-way function. And also it produces a fixed size of characters and everything, which in this case is 256. And only one slight change in the input, let's say you change the D to the E, it will completely change the value. As you can see here, it won't change only the last value or something, okay? It will completely change the results. So this is the characteristics of hashing algorithm. Now, for hashing algorithm, there is something called collisions. Well, the problem is that since we have a fixed value in the results, we can't map anything. So multiple random thing will have the same hashing. But this is a problem. Like always when you check the hashing algorithm, check the possibility of collisions. And what makes this hash thing powerful is that if you see this one and this one, you won't be able to know that the input for these two passwords were close. Like for example, you are just changing the D and the E. And this is one of the best characteristics about hashing function. So always check the characteristic of hashing function, try multiple inputs and see how the output changes. Another important thing about hashing is that this hello world will always produce this thing. It won't like give us always random thing. So doing that, we can hash our password. Since it is unique, we can hash our password and store them in our database. The hacker can't decode it back. And this technique is really powerful, even if you are the administrator of the system. If I give you this database as it is right now, you won't be able to do anything without it. You won't have any password and anything. This is the maximum security we want. This is the worst case we want. Even if the attacker will have this database, he won't be able to do anything without it. And this is what I call maximum security. So what will happen when the user will log in, we will hash the password and compare this hash with our hash if it matches. If it matches, then okay. If it's not, then we will refuse the login. Now keep in mind also that there is some hash functions specific to hashing passwords. We don't usually use the SHA or something like that. I think I saw an algorithm called bcrypt or scrypt that is specific to the password. I don't know if it is optimized for the performance or the quality of the hash or something like that. But this is the idea. We would use the hash in order to hash our passwords. Now, in this case, what you will see in your database is like the following. This is the hash. But still we have the same problem. Like two users will have the same password. Hello world and Fuad, my brother. Now there is some attack called rainbow attack in which the algorithm can be attacked, but for simple passwords. So that, and also for previous algorithm like deprecated algorithm like MD5 or something. Try to use a hashing algorithm that is secure, like SHA-256 and so on. But we still have the same problem of multiple users have the same password, and this will give clues to the attacker. Well, we have something common, so maybe the attacker will try something common like 123 until 8, for example, or password 123. And this is a problem. We want the attacker to know nothing about the algorithm we are doing, and that way he can know what we are doing. He can find some passwords to hack in here, and this is the problem. So the last technique will solve that problem. It's called salting. This is the best so far, as we hope. Okay, so what salting will do, since here is the problem. We have some users with the same password. If you can change the input without changing the password, this will result in different hashes. So what we can do, simply, we will keep the password of the user and we will attach to them something different. It's kind of changing their passwords. That's the thing, which is salting. Here is the thing, we'll try to add a random string to the password, like in the beginning or in the end. And then we will hash everything. This technique is called salting. It's like Narsa doing this kind of salting with the password. It's called salting the password. So what we will do is that we will store a separate field called the salt. Some implementation used it like directly the username, because the username is unique. That will imply thing. Because if you have two same username, or let's say two salts that are the same, it will keep that problem and it will produce the same hash or the same password. This way we can solve this problem. Usually we use like unique UID, like UUID, this kind of random string, and then we will concatenate it with the password, and then we hash everything That way we can have this password hash. So kind of we are changing the user password without letting him know. And that way, even if the user use multiple passwords across multiple apps, his password hash will be different on each platform. That's the real benefit of using this technique. Now, you won't apply this technique, as I said, in Android development or something. This is just an information on how passwords are getting stored in big system, for example. Now, there is other advanced technique that big companies uses, but this is one of the best and basic techniques to store passwords. So the result here is that if you are a developer, don't ever store your password directly or encrypt them. Use a hash and use a salt. The salt can be used, as I said, in the beginning, in the end, or maybe even you can split the salt into two parts, use parts in the beginning, parts in the end of the password, and hash everything. That would work. And if you are a normal user, don't use the same password across many apps and systems. If the system of that app is weak, an attacker can attack the password, he can know everything. And as a last tip, don't tell any programmer or developer to hack Facebook for you, because even Facebook itself won't be able to know what is the password because they hash it, they salt it, and do everything. So don't expect developer to know the password directly from that. No, well, there is other techniques like man-in-the-middle attack, like fake pages and everything. That's are different from directly hacking Facebook and know what is the password, because as I said, even Facebook wants to know what's the password are. So this is it for this video. As I said, don't use the same password for all your accounts. Thanks a lot for watching this video to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you in the next videos. Salam alaikum.